But first, a message from our sponsor. Comic books have come a long way over the years. They've always been wonderful works of art, but it took the public a while to catch on. We've also seen comics journey from a cheap disposable entertainment to hard-bound, designed with painstaking craft, and back again. And not only does the look of comics range from tiny folding zines with single images to 600-page epics and oversized artist editions, but the subject matter that these stories cover is infinite. Comic books, even American comics, were never just about superheroes, and genre type means less in comics than any other art form. The relationship between words and pictures is the essence of comics, and that is ingrained in the DNA of humanity. Comic books are world culture. From fun fantasy to entertaining education, there is something in comics for every person. In this show, we'll check out the comics that I come across in my own journey to becoming the cartoonist that I want to be. All of the books that you'll see were either purchased directly from the creators or in most cases from local comic shops. So when we find something that interests you, please head to your friendly neighborhood comic shop where small business owners and nice people are ready to help. But there's only one way you're going to find that perfect story.
Read more comics.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of Read More Comics. Up on the docket today, Awesome Possum Volume 3, edited by Angela Boyle. Breath of Bones, A Tale of the Golem by Steve Niles, Dave Wachter, and Matt Santoro. But up first, we're going to start with this little guy, The City, a mini comic by Stephen Crow and Melanie Amaro. Hope I pronounced all the names right here. I'm not always great at that. But I love your comics, everyone. Alright, let's start off with This City right here. This is one I got when I was traveling around doing some promotion for Werewolves and Unicorns and Other Mythical Creatures, a comic that I am involved in that is being printed as we speak. I'm pretty excited about. But as I was going around to all of the different cool local places between here and Bellingham and Seattle, especially around Seattle, there's a ton of shops. And ranging from the ones that you're totally familiar with and used to ones that were kind of geared specifically towards just independent comics and things out of the norm other than the big two. But this is a great one. I picked this up at just a regular shop because all of them had indie sections as well, which was pretty cool. And this type of heavy line, heavy blacks, it's black and white, but like pure black and white. There's no grays. It's just the darkness of the ink, which I love, and the white of the page. The panels are not, hard drawn, ruled, but hand drawn. It's just a feel that I really respond to. And I love this guy. It's not one through story. And when I looked up their stuff, it looks like there was some like part 2 and part 3. But like a Quentin Tarantino or like the idea of a city, it just kind of shows different aspects going on. And it's all quite beautiful. And some of the people get revisited, but like this one right here, like it just shows like establishing shots of different parts of the city, and then this just like little melodrama unfolds. You flip the page, and it's on to something else. This little like crime noir Sherlock type guy in the city. And then after this page, it goes on to this other story. And this story, through the door, kind of carries throughout the book or whatnot, and is a silent comic for that part, which is pretty cool. So the whole comic isn't silent, but like this particular storyline in it. What this whole thing kind of reminds me of is, I don't know, like a Sunday paper sort of thing, but geared towards, by like one person, I guess. It's got that quality where it's like simple lines, quote unquote, but it's really well done, kind of expertly. The expressions are fantastic. I love all of these. The boss guy with just the black eyes. But it's a great book. It's a lot of fun. I've read it twice. It's very rereadable. It's cool. He's got these like little. They've got these little art ads and like little commercials in between that are great. Regret, you can't have just one. The writing is great on this. The art is great on it. It's kind of simple but complex. I don't know. It's simple but done well. And with the writing and with the art, it does have a very rereadable quality. I really enjoy this one. As you can tell, it's like a smaller size than regular comic. I don't have a regular comic right here. Well, here actually is a comic book backing board. A little shameless self-promotion. I use these to draw on. So this is like a regular size backing board. And then this is this comic. So a little bit of a smaller zine size. Is classified itself as a mini comic. I love the cover. Excuse me, I love the cover. It's a great book. I really highly suggest you pick it up. I'll have links below. I don't know how far across the country this is being distributed, if it's just close by or not, but I will have links so you can find these people and purchase things from them. But I really suggest this one. This kind of noir city, feels like a European city. It's funny. There's parts that are very poignant and emotional. The kind of ending story is almost horrific, scary even, but I'll let you decide. It's really great. You should check it out. Alright, what do we have next here? Ah, yes. Breath of Bones, A Tale of the Golem by Steve Niles, Dave Wachter, and Matt Santoro. Let's see what it says on the front right here. Breath of Bones is Eisner-worthy. Comics Bulletin. It's stunning. Every page, every panel. This is how comics should read, by IGN. I agree with all this. This is how comics should read is a bit... yeah, I don't know about that one, but yeah, it's a beautiful comic. I love every page, every panel, for sure. This is the back of it. It's this nice hardbound, but as you can see, it's not super thick. This is pretty close to the thickness. This is like a thick, regular size comic right here, and then you have this hardbound one. So it's a single story through Dark Horse. It's Steve Niles, if you're all familiar with him. He's got a lot of work. He works with a lot of different artists, and they're always very talented artists. My wife is a big fan, and I actually got in this comic for her, and because it was striking to me, the style with the washes, this type of large beast thing, and the little kid, I don't know, just that aesthetic called to me, and so I'm like, oh, Steve Niles, there's a good excuse to buy a comic. I'll say it's for her, and I'll get to read it. And I did, and I loved it. So as we open it up, it is like a little bit longer than a regular comic, so it's a bit of a bigger size, but this is like a single story. Well, got a lot of glare here. I'm trying to figure that out. Alright, so as we go through here, see the golem right there. So I grew up just thinking Golem was just the guy from Lord of the Rings, obviously, and then other tales of monsters and legends and things, kind of understanding what it is with like the little, I don't know what it's called, the little spirit thing, and how it comes to life out of earth or glass or this or that. And I watched Troll Hunters. That stuff was really good. But yeah, this is I want good lighting on this. So, like I said, once again, with the washes and still very black inks, and then you're still using the white, you get a lot of depth on this. It's a World War II story, and it's not, I don't know, it's not your typical, it doesn't stay in that world like for a real long time. But, and I don't want to reveal too much because it is a short story and everything. From what you're saying and knowing it's a World War II story, you can kind of guess, I feel like, it's this small village where all the men have had to march off to war, leaving only, the elderly and the very young, and then what happens to a little village that's left so vulnerable. I mean, that's pretty much the story, and it doesn't really throw you for a huge loop, but like I said, it feels like a Eastern European, German, I'm not exactly sure where, country. And the settings are beautiful, the expressions are very meaningful, and it's emotional. The connections between this old man and grandfather. I can do it myself. He comes to kind of bond with his grandson, knowing kind of just the hard times that they're in. Like I said, I don't want to flip too far in this. Probably just to about here or so, but it's a beautiful comic, and the monster in it, the golem, and just how it unfolds is a very sweet story. It feels like something where it could possibly not necessarily be just totally made up. Like was this really like some sort of urban legend or folklore that happened around that time with a village that got, a strange thing that happened to them, and it got turned into like a legend sort of a thing, and Steve Niles just ran with it. But so on an entertainment level, I just really love this. On a cartoonist level, panels like this, where it's just like a simple face with nothing in the background, just a talking head, right? That is so interesting to me to be able to look at for a long time, to see all the dark line, heavy contours, like how he did the curl and texture of the facial hair, the look of the eyes, like the intense look there. I mean, it's really high craft stuff, and it doesn't seem like too heavy-handed or too polished. Once again, it's not perfect panels and everything. It's like hand done. There's like a slick page quality to it, but with the black and white like beauty, it looks like a classic old film or something like that. I highly recommend. This is a great book. Like I said, I don't want to. Here, we'll just kind of show this part. Like, these chapter breaks are super cool. I love that aesthetic. How could you go wrong with a big rock mud monster? Am I right? Check this one out. You can get this at any bookstore, any comic shop. I highly recommend, obviously, going to your comic shop. After all, it is new comic book day on Wednesday today at your comic store. So perfect time to go in, check and see if they've already got it, and then ask them if they can order it for you, because the answer is always going to be yes. Breath of Bones, A Tale of the Golem. Check it out. Alright, those are great comics, but I need another one. Hit me. Alright, cool. This is Awesome Possum, Volume 3, edited by Angela Boyle. She's a cartoonist, I believe, up here in the Northwest as well, and I think is kind of the one behind these, although as you go through, and it plainly says edited by Angela Boyle, here's the table of contents. And these are all the different artists and all the different stories in it. Like I said, I started with Volume 3. It doesn't matter on these. This is all of the ones that we've had so far, whether they're based on life or this or that. This one is actually non-fiction. So this is kind of a for information book, but it's still awesome entertainment. I highly recommend it. So you get all these different artists, which means all of these different cartoonists, going to page 227. So you get a lot of content. This is the biggest comic we have on the show today. But jumping in, let's see here. Let's see a couple of the accolades here. Armadillo tongues, the social lives of rattlesnakes, the subtle trickery of side blotch lizards. Awesome Possum is full of everyday wonders. Awesome Possum is a gorgeously illustrated world tour. From the largest mammals to the smallest extremophiles, this anthology has something for everyone, and so much more. And then some other longer-winded ones. But yeah, it's true. It's nature-based. You get stuff about bats and flight. There's stories in here about the difference between crows and ravens. A debate for the ages. But all kinds of stuff. Giraffes. It's all informational, so it makes this like a truly unique one on the show so far. And it's a lot of fun. Like I said, it makes a perfect coffee table book because you don't really have to read it in a linear fashion as you go through. It's just a whole bunch of short articles, like I said, illustrated with a whole bunch of different artists, which, how much fun is that? People who have kind of earned enough to be able to get in this anthology, have something to say about nature, have a different hand at cartooning. See that from one to the other. Just such different styles that you get to take in. So it keeps it interesting, I think, just as a purely entertainment level, if you're just a consumer of comics and enjoy them and maybe want to learn something cool. So next time you're hanging out with your friends, you can go, hey, did you know such and such about frogs? Or the Sasquatch? Or the difference between zoological and cryptological? There's a lot of good information in here. I highly recommend. It reminds me of the podcast Stuff You Should Know, but in comic book form, which I love. So if you don't know either of those, you should really check both of these things out. Elephants, my fave. So a lot of different ways and a lot of different styles that people are giving you good information. So I highly recommend it. You won't regret it. This one, once again, I think you can find it in stores across the states, but you can definitely find it through the websites that I'll have posted below. Keep that one on your coffee table for guests, for you. Anytime you're bored, pick that up, read a little bit further in it. That's what I'm doing. I love it. She's got a lot of volumes of it and a lot of other good work. So, Awesome Possum. Check out all the volumes edited by Angela Boyle. I highly recommend. Hey, thanks very much for joining me on episode 2 of Read More Comics. Do appreciate you stopping by to see all the goodies. So we'll see you next Wednesday on New Comic Book Day for episode 3. Take it easy, everybody. If you don't know already, cartoonist kayfabe is a huge inspiration behind this show. After all, it is the marching orders set forth by Jim Rugg and Ed Piskor, along with Tom Scioli, that gave rise to this segment in the first place. Cartoonist kayfabe on YouTube is essential for comic book readers and aspiring cartoonists alike. It's the comic book show that the creators are watching. Anyhow, thank you Professors Piskor, Rugg, and Scioli. The education is appreciated. Find Cartoonist Kayfabe's link below.